This is gonna be real good. The Diablo 4 that we want. With no fillers.
Diablo 4 has come a long way since its release, but there are still some problems, and there's a lot of negative content out there, so this is going to be
Mostly negative. Everything that's positive about Diablo 4 lasts roughly 5 seconds, and then the Diablo 4 devs say or do something that completely makes it irrelevant anyway.
different. I'm going to show you how to solve the game's problems easily. No, that's not what I meant.
I mean, that honestly works. That honestly fixes all of the issues really fast, by the way, also.
It's stuff like this. This video is going to cover some of the best solutions from the fans, with no filler, and it shows how they would actually look in the game, occasionally in musical format. And it also...
Oh, this is exactly what I wanted. But only this would be random, you know, and you would get charges of how many times you want to roll if you want to roll. Oh, this is exactly what I wanted.
Includes a lot of fresh ideas, like this one. Still workshopping that name. With a combination of these solutions, Diablo 4 could win back over a lot of the fans that it lost. As you may know, the game had a successful launch, but then something happened.
People are quitting.
Diablo 4 happened, that's what happened. We played it for 1 or 2 weeks, and everyone was like, yeah, there's not a lot to do here, Chief. Not gonna lie, kinda dumb.
People are upset.
I'm done with Diablo 4.
It's just overwhelming how many people hate this.
You know this is the worst game of the year.
You know, it is not good.
Diablo 4 bad.
Diablo 4 bad.
D4 bad.
D4 bad.
Guys, come on. You're just using your channel points to say D4 bad. Stop.
D4 extremely bad.
Okay, I'm turning this up.
Okay, you get the point. So what exactly happened here? The with no filler version is, some people got bored and some people got mad. By most accounts, Diablo 4 was not fully baked when it was released. Over the first month...
Yeah, I don't buy that at all. Again, I am very much against the stupid idea that, oh, Diablo 4 wasn't finished when it was released. No, it was. No, it was. The developers thought that they completely nailed it. The developers didn't see any problems with it. Because the reality is, maybe the developers did play it for like a day or two. But the developers did not try to actually play the game. Currently, the biggest problem of Diablo 4 is the fact that we need to literally fire every single person in the developer team and replace them with anyone who's not even a developer as long as they have played the game. Because the devs constantly, time after time, prove that they have not played the game, that they have no plans of playing the game, and that they have no idea because of that why people demand and want some certain changes.
There were a lot of hotfixes, primarily to make the game's most popular areas unappealing, so that people would try different stuff. And then the game announced a major patch-up.
That's the stupidest thing, by the way. You know why? Because the reason that most of the player base, and ironically, tried cookie cutter things back at the start of Diablo 4 was because the cookie cutter things were actually good. They seemed fun. And what did Blizzard do? They didn't try to make other things fun. They nerfed the things that we liked. There's a spec that actually performs well, nerf it. There's a dungeon that gives experience, nerf the dungeon. Wait, let's nerf the experience all. And they did the nerf experience part like 4 times or something like that. It was absolutely ridiculous. How can you be so stupid as developer that your solution to imaginary issues is, should we ruin the things that the player base likes, or maybe we should try to upscale the rest of the game so the player base also likes that? Yeah, they went for the former. They went for the ruin the experience.
Update. The fans wanted that patch to fix the glitches and quality of life problems and spice up the endgame, but instead the patch made everybody's characters weaker and slower to level up. That'll make people play longer, right? The big issues could just be fixed later in a series of expansions that you pay for. Actually, forget about this brand new game, Diablo 4. They're going to work on the next game, Diablo 5. This series of events made a lot of Diablo 4 fans unhappy, and it was bad timing because that was right when the incredibly popular game Baldur's Gate 3 came out. BG3's design team got a lot of praise because they released a relatively...
Dude, Baldur's Gate 3 didn't get a lot of praise, it got literally all the praise. And then triple A game devs came out and said, stop saying Baldur's Gate 3 is good. Stop it. Stop it. We can't make good games because we don't even play games. Well, stop expecting good things from us. It was just pathetic.
Complete game with no microtransactions, and the bear druids have a way different moveset than you would see in Diablo. No passive abilities.
True.
And while we're on the subject, people were also leaving Diablo 4 so they could spend more time looking at, that's right, Path of Exile. This Diablo-like game has been around for a decade, and its 35th ladder season was getting more traction than Diablo 4's first ladder season. Basically, people's interest in D4 sharply declined, and the first ladder season didn't do much to save that.
Wow.
Some of this is just the ordinary life cycle of a game, but it was pretty clear that Diablo 4's team was not going to take this lightly, because they started stacking damage reduction. They said they'd never do a patch like this again, they pledged to be more transparent, they randomly made these two employees struggle in front of the world, and then—
Struggle? We saw this. This is absolutely pathetic. This is what I mean when I say the Diablo 4 devs don't even play that game. Guess what? Do you want to know what? Yeah, that's right. These two developers are not straight. That's right. They have wives and whatnot. Can you imagine that? And we saw they were playing Diablo 4, by the way. They got given fresh level 50 accounts on World Tier 1 and put into a dungeon. They did not know that there are options to attack but just right click. Well, actually, left click. They only used left click. They didn't even use right click. And at one point, someone accidentally did use right click. And then they got scared and never used it again because mind-blowing. Dude, this was absolutely devastating. And these are the people that are designing your dungeons. And you're wondering, why the dungeons suck. This is why they suck. Because these people are horrible at their jobs. You unironically got to learn more about their private lives in this thing if you watched it than you got to learn about why the decisions for Diablo 4 that they made are meaningful. Or anything else, honestly. They just talked about their private lives and how much LGBTQ++ they are.
Struggle in front of the world, and then they announced that for Season 2, they were going to make a lot of the changes that the players had asked for. I think at least that last one was a huge step in the right direction, and it was well received by the fans too. Basically, they made it faster to get around, faster to level up, they added more stuff to do, and they fixed some bugs, like this one, where my fellow keyboard mouse players could not ride their horse full speed south, so I used to be able to catch up to them on foot. I should not have been able to murder that guy. The game has come a long way, but I think it still has some issues that could be easily solved. Just because I focus on those in this video doesn't mean that the game is all bad.
That's
on
nice.
the contrary, I've actually had a lot of fun, especially in the zones where you can fight other players. If more people come back to Diablo 4, that's more people I can bonk, usually with a giant hammer. So of course I want the game to succeed. But for a lot of people, it's too little, too late. Many argue that the new quality of life updates are really just basic issues that should have been worked out before the game was released.
Yeah, I
That's,
agree.
a hard one to
100%, I
argue
agree.
against, but whether you love the game or hate it, here we are now, and we have the developers' attention. So here comes the big question. What can Diablo 4 do to get its fans back? I think it's simple, really. The game already has a lot of fun moments. They just need to trim down the stuff that gets in the way of having fun. Because the game is full of features that are made to slow you down and things that constantly require you to make boring trips to town and then you're not allowed to sprint there when you're riding on a mount. Turns out none of that is
Also
fun.
true.
The legendary powers can be—
What? I am not doing that. There's for some reason music.
scattered everywhere, but they quickly fill your stash until there's barely room to spare. Just let me store them in the cloud. Let it sort them and compare. If I get 10,000 more with no support, then I might pull out my hair. You have no room in your stash?
Oh, it's a rap or something.
Hopefully that will get someone's attention.
That was cringe,
Basically,
though.
I'm saying if the game gives you chores, then it should also give you tools to make those chores take the absolute minimum amount of time. The priority of any game should be for you to spend the most of your game time having the most fun. I mean, I have enough chores in real life. I'm not trying to spend all my free time doing chores in a game. I don't think anyone is. Well, some people are, but I'm talking about things like stash space. I get that running out of space is a challenge, and it forces you to make hard decisions about what you want to keep. But there is an oppressively tiny—
Oh yeah, the hearts! I completely forgot about the Malignant hearts in inventory. Okay, so this is my favorite example of how bad the Diablo 4 devs are at Diablo 4 deving. So, everyone complains about stash space. Everyone wants a separate gem bag so you can place the gems and they don't clutter up your inventory and stash space, right? The developers, obviously, they don't play their game. They don't understand what's the big deal with what's the big deal with this right here? What do you mean this is bad? How can this be bad? How can 50% of your inventory be filled with things that you can't draw but you can't use be bad? So, they don't understand it, but they say they're gonna solve it, but not now because, the technology is obviously not there. Obviously, Diablo. It's just not there, okay? Just deal with it, okay? Relax. It's not there. But they're gonna do it for maybe like season 15 or something at this rate. So, what do? Well, then they go introduce Malignant Hearts. That's what they do. People are complaining about this stuff taking too much stash space. They do this. They introduce more stuff that takes stash space. And then finally in Season 3, they introduce the Gem tab. And they introduce, again, 15 more things that take up your inventory slots. This is stuff like this only happens when not a single one of your developers is playing your own game. Okay, it should be a crime for a developer to not play their own game. It's true. It just is. We have so many problems because the devs don't play their own games. We have so many problems that should be small bug fixes because they're not actually big deals. But considering the devs are bad at their jobs, they don't understand what's bad about the game.
Amount of stash space that you have to share between all your characters. Oh great, I picked up some new content that they added. Let's just put that,
Nice.
You know what, why don't I just hang on to this? When there's all this new content competing for the same space, and when you're trying to save stuff to try out different builds, the challenge of choosing what to throw away is not fun. And with the character limit, there's really not enough room for mules either. I know this is being worked on. They said they want to add tabs. The game is just not coded well to support that in the open world. But I hope they figure it out.
Yeah, the game's not coded for anything, well, if we're being honest, huh?
Because running out of stash space is the opposite of fun. They did add a search bar to the stash, which is fantastic, but that doesn't stop you from running out of space. One thing that could save a lot of space is aspects, the legendary powers you can put on your gear. If they truly want us to experiment and try out different builds...
I told you this from the very start. You just melt down an aspect, it goes into your roll, it goes into some kind of thing, and depending on how many aspects you have melted down, that's how many rolls you can make on a piece of gear if you wished for. It's such a simple solution, but obviously Blizzard would never think of it.
Then these should not have to compete for stash space. The aspects tab is actually smaller than your other tabs for some reason, but I think they should just do away with the tab, and they should simply let you store your aspects in the Codex. It could look like this. So when you click on that legendary power, it opens another window where you can either use the Codex, or you can use one of the aspects you collected. If you have multiples of the same aspect, it should rank them by their variable stats. That's why I added the green bars on the side of each aspect here.
No, this is kind of stupid. It should be just, you get to do the roll. So if it's from 10 to 20, you melt it down, congratulations, you have one roll. If you melt it down at perfect 20-year, that doesn't matter, okay? Because, it's going to still roll from 10 to 20 or whatever it is. That's how you're supposed to do it.
0 green bars means it's the worst roll, and 10 green bars means it's the best roll. That's kind of already how the game looks at it, and it should tell you what your best one is without making you look. And to really make this work well, you need to be able to compare the legendary powers you find with the ones you have in storage. That way you can confidently know whether it's junk right then and there. D4 team, feel free to copy this. It's free advice. There are some...
No, that's actually also not good. Because... okay, it doesn't matter which one is your highest roll. You also need to know the rolls below it. Because, if you have one roll that's 20%, you probably also care about the 19 and 18 under it.
Simpler ways to fix this, like upgrading the Codex directly or having it copy the best legendaries you found. But if your Codex can just print out perfect rolls, then the thousands of legendaries you find after that become almost meaningless. I don't want to have to think about every legendary like I do now, but I also don't want them to be worthless. And the way I showed you takes the hassle away without diminishing their value. Also, I would like to view the Codex from anywhere, like it's the cloud. And you should be able to salvage aspects. Right now it doesn't let you. You honestly should be able to salvage things no matter where you are. And that's why I'm pretty excited about this next idea. I think an incredible solution for itemization would be if we could get a little window to salvage our gear directly from our inventory, and maybe even let it extract aspects too, like anywhere. That way we don't have to waste our time after every single dungeon going to town with a loading screen, running over to that guy, running over to this guy who gives me the creeps. I tested it and I was spending almost 1/3 of my time going to town just to do chores. Some of
Yeah.
that time was spent sifting
That
through
sucks.
loot. There are so many throwaway stats that it's
Dude. Okay. For me, sifting through loot is not hard. I can spend half a second looking at a piece of loot and decide if it's better or not. But other people can't do that. Other people have not played the game that much. Other people, just can't look at everything and decide is it better or not. So, for them it's gonna take longer. But even for people who can do this really fast, it's still annoying. It's still really, really annoying.
It's like a 1 in 1,000 chance of finding a useful item with 3 decent rolls, but you still have to look at
Yeah.
every piece of equipment one by one in order to find it. That's why this game really needs a loot filter, something that filters out which items you can see based on a criteria you set. Here it is, I photoshopped it. For each piece of gear, it should let
This
you
is
highlight
actually
the
a really good loot
items
filter.
that have at least 2 or 3 of the affixes you want.
Look at this. Damn, boy. Damn. Dude, this would be perfect. By the way, this almost makes it This just makes it that you don't even need Diablo to rework its current item stats. Admittedly, they should, because reworking the item stats would be really good, because the item stats currently are just bad in general, a lot of them. But something like this, oh my god, this would be a dream come true. Because the reality is you would need to stop. That if they added a loot filter like this, you wouldn't even actually need to go back to the town ever. Because you would maybe get 1 item per run. 1 item per dungeon that actually is, applicable. It's crazy.
And it should let you filter by item level. You should have control over the types of
True.
implicits or weapons you see, and you should have the ability to highlight the items that pass the filter test. And if they fail the filter test, you can gray them out or even hide them. In my example here, all
Yeah, we just want auto disenchanting.
legendaries pass the filter, but you can
Also, 7,500 red shards the maximum? He has a lot of them, jeez.
change that, and you can choose which legendary powers you see. And it'll work on the items in your inventory too, so as you add more filters, you can easily tell what to hang on to. A loot filter would cut out like 90% of the time it takes me to do chores, and so would a portable salvage. And together, this would almost completely eliminate the most tedious and boring part of the game. I beg of you, Blizzard, please, please implement these ideas. Now, whenever you do finally find a good
I mean, true, but there is actually one downside technically to doing this. Yeah, I know. There is a downside. That's kind of... I'm not even trolling. There is a legitimate downside to this. And the downside may seem a little bit stupid, but it will make the game worse, honestly. And that is the fact that if you implement these downsides... No, not downsides, but if you implement a system like this, the towns lose all meaning. Okay? We don't already like the towns too much. They're not too interesting. They don't add anything in reality. But they're there. And at least it's nice to know that they're there. Because honestly, the overworld of Diablo 4 is pretty good. There's a lot of towns. There's a lot of encampments. It actually feels like almost a medieval setting. Honestly. So, that's kind of cool. But if towns lose all meaning... That even you don't even visit blacksmiths anymore. That would be kinda lame.
good item, your next step is usually to re-roll the worst stat into a good one, aka enchanting.
True.
It can be frustrating because you
Well,
only get
actually,
two new
no, not true. Because I forget about this. I have done it for like 1 piece of gear. And that's it. I'm pretty sure most people just forget that this even exists.
options from a list of mostly filler options, so you're probably gonna have to try over and over again to get the one you want. I would like for them to either give more than 2 new options, or condense the filler options, or both, and they need to say what these passives do. It would also be nice if we could tinker with the implicit stats. That's the one up here. They go back and forth on nerfing the implicits that make you move faster. So my fully upgraded boots here at a high item level still only have
Honestly, just buffing the movement speed of everything by 30% would be such a major win for Diablo 4 as a game. Also, for World of Warcraft Season of Discovery, I'm not gonna lie, that movement speed just needs to be buffed.
1 charge of evade. So you're just slowing me down then. Cool. Another problem I have with enchanting is it makes your items untradeable. The only items you are allowed to trade are not best in slot until you slap a legendary power on them, which makes them untradeable. And any sort of re-rolling or tinkering with the items also makes them untradeable. For that reason, Diablo 4's trading economy is basically dead. I think a better trading system could have kept players invested.
Actually, the trading economy is pretty much alive. It's you just need to find it, but it's actually alive, as strange as that sounds. I know, crazy, right?
And interested much longer. I mean, if I had it my way, there would be no trading restrictions, Diablo 2 style, but there are definitely fans who disagree with me on that one for valid reasons. And the game runners don't like it either, because then you could just get all the best gear without really playing the game. But they could sort of appease both sides of this argument with two simple changes. First off, if you've completed this dungeon and I've completed this dungeon, then we both have unlocked this power. Why not let us trade stuff that has that power? Honestly, who is that hurting? And if it's one of those sneaky powers that cannot be farmed from the dungeon, they could gatekeep the trading for those based on your level or world tier. And if we have to make an item untradeable when we tinker with it, let us have a way to restore that item to its default settings so that we can trade it again. Or
how about we just, get rid of world tiers? I would also love that.
just don't make it go untradeable in the first place. I think a vast majority of people would appreciate if they just relax the trading restrictions a little. I have so much I want to say about trading economies that grow inside video games, and how those economies interact with real money. I'm giving this topic its own video, and its own show tune. Maybe you're paid to win, and I'm paid to win.
Wow.
And so is the whole thing. But for now, let's zoom out from that, and talk about zooming out from this. I'm pretty sure D4 is the most zoomed in a Diablo game has ever been, and there's no option to back up even a little bit. But if they do finally let us zoom out a little bit more, we're gonna really need custom zoom
well, man, this looks nice.
settings that we can flip to quickly from the wheel. Like if I'm way zoomed out, but then I get into a close range fight, I don't want to have to manually zoom in. I'll die if I do that. But if I have a preset zoom on this wheel, then I can quickly handle it in the middle of combat. The zooming problem isn't.
I don't think that's even actually useful, but okay.
Anyway, I think they made the game more fun by making the horse less challenging. But some kinds of things could be more fun if they're more challenging. For example, almost all the stuff you can do in the open world becomes obsolete in the late game because you cannot get an optimal amount of experience. Currently, you get the biggest experience multiplier from monsters that are 10 levels higher than you. They just made it so most areas scale to exactly your level, and some places are your level plus 3. But eventually,
this doesn't matter if his getting level 100 is relatively fast now, and everyone can honestly do it if they just try. I don't even know how much it takes to get the 100, but it's really, really fast nowadays. And this level of plus 10 levels is not actually the most efficient way to do things, by the way. It's the most efficient if you can one-shot the creatures, the mobs that are there. Okay? That's how it works. If you can't one-shot them, then probably 9 levels above is better because you can one-shot them and it's faster. Everything depends here on clear speed. Okay, if you can one-shot things at level 4, but you can't at level 6, well, you probably should actually play with 4 levels plus. It is how it is. It's not a big deal.
none of the places are made it so every monster is at least.
And this is not something that most people are going to be complaining about, honestly. Again, leveling has gone such a long way in this game. It's absolutely insanity. Helltides.
Much more useful. That would include Helltides. Helltides are honestly kind of fun. You slay demons to open treasure chests. In theory,
Yeah, but they suck because you see these things right here? Blizzard, how about you make it that they auto pick up? How about that? That would be such a crazy quality of life update. It would be better than adding Uber Duriel.
Helltides should be good for target farming pieces of gear that you need, but they're not because you have to get close to each chest just for them to show up on your.
They're actually also gonna be changing how often Helltides spawn. But if he's gonna say that, yeah, you should have chests, that, you should show the location of chests, yeah. I am tired of going to helltides.com to seeing where are the current chests spawning with all of the good shizzle vizzle. Yeah, that's really annoying. Tree of Whispers.
So next we have the Tree of Whispers. We are not very useful.
True. The irony of Tree of Whispers is very, very simple. It's the most fun activity with the worst reward. Doing Tree of Whispers is kind of cool. It kind of feels rewarding, especially when you do it as an additive bonus to something that's currently happening. It's really cool. But it does. You don't want to do it because it's low reward, okay? You don't want to do it because it's low reward. But when you're doing, for example, the Vampire Tides, you love Tree of Whispers because every activity in the Vampire Tide is tied to the Tree of Whispers. The easiest way that they could fix Tree of Whispers, by the way, is super simple. And that's just called, how about whenever you go do a dungeon, for example, it prioritizes a dungeon with Tree of Whispers on it. How about that? How about that, Wizards, Blizzards, whatever your company name is, ass? How about that? Yeah, that would be so good. Because people have already been complaining about, the tiers in the dungeons. That, tier 1 to 10 is a specific X group of dungeons. Tier 10 to 20 is a specific other. And so if you're doing, for example, tier 80 dungeons constantly for optimal farming, you're always in the exact same dungeons. The dungeons never change. It's so sad. It's so annoying. It's so bad. I want every dungeon to be just random, okay? I want to click the thing that takes me to that activates a nightmare dungeon, and I want it to be randomly rolled. And if there's a Tree of Whispers dungeon activity available, I want it to take me specifically to that one, because that's the best way it happens. And if there's no Tree of Whispers activity available, how about the dungeon where I have not gained the Codex aspect? That's how it should be. But that's not how it is. Even though that probably would take, less than 2 hours to fix. But the Diablo devs, again, they don't play their own game. They don't understand that things like this are annoying and can be fixed and whatnot.
They recently made this thing pump out golden experience, and it gives you stuff you need to fight uber
True. But it's still something that you don't actively do.
Real, but it would be nice if you could use it to target farm.
Also, it would be nice that you could click on this stupid fucking tree without going too close to it and doesn't feel awkward.
It would be great for target farming if you could get more than 3 random options, or if certain bounties guaranteed that certain types of gear would show up in the options, or gave you a small shot at getting a unique. It should probably...
he means unique. I thought he was talking about mythic quality. No, there's plenty of mythics here. But yeah, these are also valid concerns. The first valid concern is obviously that the Tree of Whispers is extremely underutilized and could be so much better. But it's not.
A lot of these problems just melt away if you tackle their root cause. And that's the whole point of this video, to show you...
Well, I guess that's it. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good video. I agree with everything, almost. With no filters, what a time to be alive. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sin. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.